Hello everyone, welcome back to the layout. I wanted to take a moment and give you a little tour through this specific area in particular. It's Knapford Harbour, and at least that's what I'm calling it for now. It's a bit of a mix between Brendam Docks and Knapford Harbour from the TV series. Around Season 2, Season 3-ish, I really love the look of the docks, especially episodes like Old Iron and the Diesel come to mind when I think of the docks. Diesel does it again. It all comes to mind and it all evoked this kind of layout. So I'm going to bring Henry in. He's quite a ways away, so I'll get talking about the little siding arrangement here. It's pretty convoluted, but I specifically wanted to have this outer line go straight in, and then right here there's a crossover. You can go straight to the water tower, or you can go to the docks, and from the docks area over here, unload to the ships. So here comes Henry, picking up some passengers at the Harbour station. Now that Henry, has picked up all the passengers, he's gonna continue on to Tidmouth Station. Bye, Henry. And he made it. Not that far of a trip. So, now that we are over here, kind of get a better look at what's going on at the sidings. I guess I'll start off with this little junk pile here. These are TrackMaster 2 axles, just taken out of random pieces of rolling stock that I can't use. This is from a push-along or take-and-play piece of rolling stock. It's a troublesome truck, I believe. One of the rainbow-colored ones. I like to use those to make the Farquhar Quarry Company trucks, like the shorter wheelbase and 3-plank trucks. Oh, that's okay. Not where I wanted it to go. Anyway, these are interesting. These are bullet links, cartridge links to a Browning 30 cal machine gun. It's a long story of how I come upon these, but I'm a lover of history and I really have a passion for it. So I do World War II reenacting, and funny enough, a lot of the stuff I use, the wool blanket that's underneath Tidmouth right now, that's a World War II blanket. I think it's dated 1943 on the tag, which is severely faded by now. But got some moth holes, and I've been wearing it down with my socks a bunch when I step on it, but it is still in very good condition after almost 80 years. But here we have who my pop-up I decided canonically drives in this layout. I call it Beck. And I'm not sure whose face I used as a donor. I'll zoom in. But you can see on the top the company name, Edward Beck and Son Limited. It's just a 1/72nd scale, or 00 scale truck. It's the same kind of truck as Butch, so I figure Butch and Beck, it's a pretty good combination. So it kind of fits the season 3 to 4 vibe, maybe even season 5. And it fits the scale of the figures pretty well. 00 is a little small for the figure scale, but in the show, the figures and the vehicles, the scales were kind of all over the place from what I've seen. And over here in the sidings is my spiteful brake van. Based on the Railway series face, not the TV show face. I think the sinister eyebrows, Jack Nicholson vibe looks really effective for an evil piece of rolling stock. So I opted to have that one on here. There was a very poorly painted face that I had on here previously. You can kind of see the remnants of the glue. it came out very nicely. I forget which color this brake van was specifically before I painted it. I think I covered all the surfaces. It's very nice. It's not, I think I don't like to toot my own horn a lot, but I think I found a good method of protecting all this rolling stock really well with matte enamel and all sorts of different kinds of clear coats, different brands and whatnot. So, moving on to the other side of the line, we're gonna hop over there. Moving over to these buildings, they are 3D printed 28mm wargaming buildings. The one on the left is called a French farmhouse, which is pretty self-explanatory, and I do not know the name of the one on the right, but it is a factory, and I painted them both to match the Season 3 vibe of like Brendam Docks. You see Bill and Ben when they go to the docks there, they go in between a bunch of buildings, close quarters. They're all painted brick red. That scene sticks in my mind, and I did my best to replicate that kind of look. I gave the window frames the same kind of green that is standard on the buildings with the merch. It's kind of a blue-green color. It is supposed to be that kind of green. The red is not 1-to-1. I bought that red. It was a cheap acrylic from Walmart. I thought I was using fire truck red, but then I looked at the bottle and it said flamingo red. So that was an interesting find because it looks really, really good for a brick red. And I didn't expect that. So flamingo red, everybody, from Walmart. That is a very nice brick red. The plastic underneath was gray, so that probably has something to do with it, but I'll bring it back. Looks pretty dang good. That's the base coat. That's the plastic. And what I did with this building in particular, painted both sides differently, slightly differently, so that I can reverse the building if I want to have a different look. Because this is more of a residential, kind of like these could be two residential buildings. And then on the other side, since it's one door, I figure it could be a company building. And this building, like I said, it's a factory, 3 floors, same red. I painted the windows with silver on the inside to make it look like reflective glass. And I owe all the painting work to these little dudes, my little painter guys. They just need something to do on the layout, so I tasked them with spotting some buildings to paint. They did a good job. They did all these by themselves. Can you believe that? This one's pretty cool because it has a bunch of doors on it. A bunch. I say a bunch. There's 2 doors on the bottom floor and there's 1 door up top. But fits really well as a company building. This is what the building looks like before I painted it, the farmhouse. It's very nice, except this is one of the only buildings that had this problem, really. All this plastic flashing in the brickwork. I can't deal with that. So I had to strip all of that out on this one, which was an ordeal. I eventually found that using a little round file with a sharp point, sticking it in the brickwork and just peeling off all of the flashing would work. However, I gave myself a nice little cut there if it'll focus. You can see, you don't need the details. See that mark there? That was the first one that I got from just the flashing on here. Then I decided to upgrade to an X-Acto blade and I punctured myself right on my palm. You don't need to see the details again, right here. And that one was bad. So, moving on, George. this is my George, my interpretation. I'm gonna eventually repaint his company name, so it's just blank up there. Or I'll make up a cool name, maybe print a label out, stick it on there. He uses a Ertl face, an Ertl face. Fits him perfectly. And he is a Models of Yesteryear model. I believe it says it on the bottom somewhere. But even better, I have the paper. Oops. I have the paper that came with him. An Stirling Porter steamroller, built in 1894. Has all the little detail on there. You can pause it if you'd like to read that. I don't know if this is the exact steamroller that George is based on, but I saw it at a train show, at the Greenberg train show in Edison, New Jersey, and I could not pass it up. I'd been looking at it a lot on eBay and Mercari, and I was eager to get it. So, snagged that last summer, and he's been hanging out with PT Boomer, my little figure. If it'll focus. There we go. Little PT. This is just a Lego beanie or a fisherman's hat that I trimmed on the inside, so it fits his dome better. And little piece of trivia. I don't know if this is a widely known thing, but something I just found when I was looking at footage of Magic Railroad, the unused shots. PT's motorcycle helmet is not a motorcycle helmet. It is an equestrian helmet, which makes sense in a very rural landscape like the Isle of Man where they shot the film. However, I don't know how safe that is for motorcycle riding. I would not recommend that. And I thought it was kind of funny because those sit really high up on your head, and this beanie, since it doesn't fit him perfectly, it does the same thing. I thought that was pretty cool. I sell him on my eBay account, if you'd like to check him out. Over to the roadside siding, this being the road, we have a take-along crane, which is sandwiched near perfectly into this. I think it's a Plasticville O-scale platform, and my goodness, it's a tight fit, but it doesn't warp the plastic or anything, so I think it's exactly the right tolerance. So it's very useful if I want to have Thomas Percy come over and shunt some trucks over to the yard. And bye, Thomas. This is a custom van from Roo Restorations. I painted it a varied shade of brown from 3 others that I got, identical to this one. And they all came out very nicely. The print lines on the rough side I could have filled with putty. I should have, but I didn't have any at the time. So that will be for the next project I do with vans. Then over here we have a custom painted salt van, and this uses actually like a camo green that you can find at Walmart. It's like it has like a boat on the can, but it's a spray paint that's meant to like spray paint I guess hunting gear, and it works really well. It comes out very gray with just a hint of green in there. It's very nice. I try to paint a lot of troublesome trucks with that now, since it comes out so nicely. But we've got some wooden railway cargo over here, which does not line up with this magnet. It kind of flips the magnet over when it tries to hook up. It still works perfectly fine, it just goes a little lopsided. But we've got these couple figures here ready to load up the train all by themselves. Okay, I know I'm in the middle of making a video, but I just spotted something I can possibly do to alleviate this cramped roadway going through here. So I'm going to change that really quick and be right back. not even gonna lie, everybody, that solved a lot of problems. Not only is this roadway a lot clearer, but on the other side of the line, the gas fuel storage area is also a lot less cracked. So I'm about to go down here and show this off right now. Here we have an HO scale gasometer, which is extraordinarily fragile. I have stepped on this a number of times and sheared off a bunch of details, and so ultimate takeaway is HO scale plastic stuff, also wood stuff, is very fragile. So it's best to put it in an area of your layout that you're not going to be stepping in if it's on the floor. For instance, these are not in an area even remotely close, except for on the other side of the bypass where I'd be stepping. But it looks really good. There's a shot in season 2 and Percy takes the plunge with Thomas and Percy at the docks, and there's a gasometer right behind him, and it's huge. It really adds to the vibe of the place. It's very industrial, and that's the look I go for most with all this stuff, is an industrial look. I really like, for some reason, the industrial engines, tank engines in industrial places. Really, it fascinates me, which is why I actually made a replica of 16, which I'll showcase in another video. But here I will demonstrate. Wow, Thomas is going fast. This 00 HO scale water tower from Bachmann is not tall enough on its own, so I stuck an HO scale platform underneath, and that adds a little bit of height, just enough to fit right on top of Thomas's water feed cap. You can't even see it from that angle. If I swap sides, it gets the same effect. And it swivels in just like that. There we go. So it fits perfectly, and as long as I tuck it in beforehand, it doesn't impede anything with the travel. But back to this side, I don't know what this is. It had 3 spouts coming out of it that I have removed because I could not find use for them. But we have this little dude on top surveying the area, making sure everything is up to spec. And then another, whoops, sorry dude. The OSHA doesn't exist on Sodor, right? Hopefully not. Moving on, another gasometer, or an oil gas fuel storage area. Honestly, have not researched what they keep in these things, but fuel and gas seems to be the common items. So over here, more axles and wheels just to add to the yard vibe, and then a play rail turntable, which I hot glued the lever down on because by default it sticks up for some reason, so engines get stuck on it. So I prevent that by hot gluing it down, and that way engines can roll on and off, no problem. And this is a Mattel putt-putt shed. It's an old playset from the 70s, I believe, but I think it was orange or some funky color before I painted it. All brown. Some of the original color coming through just for weathering's sake. I think it's dated 1972. It's a Mattel putt-putt shed. So putt-putt was like a playset with a lot of primitive, like wooden figures and small bits and bobs, vehicles, whatnot, road pieces, and a lot of sheds that seem to fit over Tomy and Trackmaster stuff really well. This could definitely fit O-scale or Lego or whatever you want. And it's about the length of an engine. So if you want to use it to store engines in, that's also a possibility. This gets moved around so much on my layout. I just enjoy having it in a bunch of different spots because everyone can hang out underneath. just scooched everything over a little bit. Over here, under the Brandon Docks canopy, it's from the old set, we have this even older 90-degree turnpiece, which it was inspired by a story that I saw a very long time ago, where one of the plot points was tender engines could not hit a certain curve at one of the docks because it was too sharp and they would derail. So I implemented that here. I have another piece like that, I just don't have anywhere to put it. Over here, this is a Dinky Toys die-cast crane that I repainted the base of. It was blue before, and now it's gray. This is one of the cargo pieces from the Brandon Docks set. Very sturdy. It's fun to play with too, because it's pretty much a toy, but it's a model as well. So that's something that I'll have my niece play with at some point. Over here, more axles, of course. Adds to the vibe. A plastic fill platform without the canopy supports or canopy, just because it's a goods platform now. These are some 3D printed with wood filament little crates. I forget what scale they are. I have these all over the place. Erdl canvas covered trucks. And then a Lido. I think this is Lido. This may be Matchbox. This is Lido Days Gone. They make a bunch of different vehicles. I think they make them all in 1/72nd scale. I have a lot of them that are in 1/72nd. But this is just a truck with a hook on it. It says it is the, let's see, London Brick Company Limited. Very nice. It's die cast. Plastic tires. I thought they were rubber. Some of them have rubber tires. So this is another Lido truck. This one has plastic tires on it. But I had repainted the sides. I'll zoom in here. I had repainted the sides and the doors. I don't remember what was on there prior. It was a German word. But maybe I'll put some stickers or decals on there that pertain to Sodor. So this is, again, a Lido Days Gone model, 1/72nd scale. And these buildings are both the same scale, 28mm, as the last ones. I have yet to paint them. They'll be next on my list because they'll finish off the docks for me. But in conjunction with this HO scale shed, I think it kind of looks like the Sodor shipping company at Brandon Docks in the show. I mean, it's definitely not a one-to-one thing, but it kind of has the same makeup of, I guess there could be a crane under this canopy. So there's a couple goods lines going underneath the canopy with the main building going next to it. And an important note with these buildings is that all the roofs are removable. I just have some small glue dots holding on the roofs securely. But once I paint them, they'll stay removable since the windows are open. That way I can stick the camera inside and get some cool looking shots. So that will come soon. This is the Dockyard area proper, and there's a lot of things to talk about here. First off, let's shed some light on it with this handy dandy remote control. I have lights, since this is a bed, I have lights installed, magnetized to the bed springs down there. So those are handy. But let's start off right here. This is a wooden railway crane that I fixed up the levers on the bottom to lock the wheels that let it roll were kind of messed up, so I had to disassemble it a bit. The crane here was a bit messed up as well, the mechanism to reel it in and out. so I had to disassemble that as well. But it was cheap, and I know how to get into all this stuff, so it was very worth it. And my little figures go in with the scale pretty well. I like to put them on there and have them keep a lookout. Next to it is kind of the star of the show over here. I haven't given it a name, but this was made by something with Vermont Schoolhouse in the name. It's a very niche production company, if it even still is a company. But it's a small stamp on the bottom that says that. I have an identical one to that I'm saving for something. But right now, the purpose it's serving is kind of pinning down this fabric I have with these weights. And I'm not sure if it's working. It's been sitting there for about a week with those weights on it. So I might have to spray some water on it, or drip some water on the corner there, and then cover it up so it gets a better crease. But moving on to where, let's go over past Cranky. This tugboat is carrying this boat full of coal, which are airsoft BBs, just black. You can buy them in white or black, or I think you can even buy them in camo color. Oops. If they stay in there, they're very contained, but it's when they're loose that they cause trouble. And you lose track of them and start stepping on them, and kind of like Legos, but invisible. We've got some TrackMaster coal hoppers here. I have 2 of them lined up, leading to this big O-scale coal depot. And this kind of looks similar to in the show. There's a scene that I was kind of looking for this to look like. Gordon is talking to Edward about Boco, a branch line diesel running mainline trains. And the setting they're at is kind of like a coal depot at the harbor. So that's that specific area, and I have it positioned so that there's a lot of sidings. So hypothetically, Gordon could be on any one of these waiting at the coal depot, and then Edward could be over on the main line here. Over here, this is an old Tomy crane that goes over the double track pretty snug, and in fact so snug that engines and trains can barely fit through the legs here without clipping them. And then the whole crane gets dragged, but it does roll like so. Oh, let me not throw the guy around up top. So this is another one of my figures up here, a little crane operator figure. And this truck here is the one with rubber tires. I can't get out to it at the moment. I do have the paper handy, so I'll grab that. Here's the paper. It's a Leyland 3-ton subsidy lorry. I'll let you read that if you like. And other Matchbox models of yesteryear. And you'll notice out in the distance here, we have this take and play or take along Sodor covered bridge next to this HO scale coaling tower. And I could really not find a good spot for either of them anywhere else on the layout. But since this covered bridge has this wooden framing on the bottom, I thought that looks really good if it wanted to be a pier over the water. So I kept it there specifically. And this material, let me mention this really quick, is Condura, which, fun fact, is what the 2022 Batman Batsuit is made of. And now we've looped over to the water tower and the signal box over here behind the crane. And this is where we're going to wrap things up, hopefully, if I don't ramble on too long. He can just hang out off screen for now. So, you might be wondering where that smoke came from, and eagle-eyed viewers might have seen the little hose pipe that it's coming from right there. And I'll go grab that in one sec. It's hanging out in a bunch of rigging in a ship out in the water. And this is the device hidden inside of a New Hope and Ivyland Railroad ornament bag. And this is from like the Polar Express excursion train that they do every year. And it has the bell that Tom Hanks' character cherishes. And so the device is just a mini fog machine hooked up to this nozzle. Oh, I just knocked Oliver's fireman off of the boiler. It's okay. This hose has a wire inside of it, copper wire, so it's a little more posable than it would normally be if it were just a normal rubber hose. One of my lights just went out. Oops. So this is really useful. It's not that long, it's maybe 1.5 feet long, but to stick it inside of scenes or just to even put it on top of scenes and have it blow smoke everywhere is just incredibly useful. So to finish things up, I just want to say thank you to TrainBoy here on YouTube, because he created this Oliver and my mom bought him on eBay, and I value his craftsmanship very much, and also his YouTube presence as well. He's a very cool creator, and I converted him to RC. He's a great runner. I touched him up a little bit, and I think I'm gonna repaint his face so it's a little more accurate to, you can see the shade difference between him and Duck, but that shouldn't be too difficult. Something else I wanted to point out is that I recently, actually last night, received all of these lamps, signal lamps from CustomTrackmasters here on YouTube as well. He has an eBay page as well, and he started selling these at the request of some commenters. I was actually one of them. He's started selling a bunch of stuff in an auction that he's running. So I got 20 front lamps and 20 rear lamps, and they fit on the pegs perfectly, the little signal, the lamp irons, and you can see in the distance there, if I turn Duck around, you get a better view. This is what the tail lamps look like. I painted these all in not a rush, but I was eager to get them done because they're really cool to just stick on engines, because I've always been fascinated by the lamp codes and I never actually get to like exercise them on the layout. So now I can. And I also appreciate that very much because they are resin and the craftsmanship on them is great. There's not a lot of blemishes on them like filament printing, so that's very nice. Last little note, this is the truck I was talking about earlier, the Matchbox models of yesteryear. I believe this is 1/43rd scale or 1/64th. It's not as small as 1/72nd, and it's definitely not as small as HO 1/87th. So I'm not exactly sure what the scale is, but I'm going to bet that it's 1/43rd. It's funny, it fits in the tracks perfectly, but I think it fits the scale a little bit better than 1/64th, 1/72nd. 1/43rd just seems the way to go for vehicles. And with that, I want to thank everybody for watching this one. This was a bit of a long one, and it's taken a few days to put together at this point, but I hope it was worth watching. I know I have a few viewers who are very interested in my layout in general, just the makeup of it and the little details. And sometimes I forget how cool all this stuff is, not to boast about it, but I kind of view it as like sometimes boring. I just sit here and fantasize about stuff and kind of lose track of time. But it's nice to be able to share now, and I'm gonna be more active for sure. If you want to send me a message on eBay or if you want to comment here, I try to get back to everybody. So, yeah, I thank you once again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.